Hey, welcome back to the stash. God, sometimes it sucks to be a Spider-Man fan. I mean, for 20 odd years, the main title has been nothing but complete trash that pales in comparison to the pre-One More Day era. Save for maybe a couple of runs at best, there really hasn't been anything to look forward to as a comic reader, especially considering that during all these issues, Peter's character has only regressed and regressed to the point of him being basically unrecognizable. Mary Jane is still in this endless, painful loop that's been in place purely out of spite from the editorial office. The books don't evolve anymore, milestone issues are wasted, Gwen has been somehow ruined beyond redemption, and the worst part is, that's just off the top of my head, there is an insane amount of more horrible choices we've had to suffer. I mean, the name Paul alone should now send a shiver down any Spidey fan's spine. But during one of the character's bleakest eras, there was one shining light at the end of the tunnel, and that's of course Ultimate Spider-Man. In January 2024, Ultimate Spider-Man was released to the world, and let me tell you something, this comic, especially at the time, felt revolutionary. From the art to the writing, this book was just the thing we all needed. It was history in the making, and since then, it only got better and better. Sure, it had its more dull moments, but that was mostly due to Marvel's annoying monthly mandate for release and for the story. It was the Spider-Man comic, the one that had so easily taken over the main title within one single release. But unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, because it has been announced that issue 24 of Ultimate Spider-Man will be the finale of the series. Now, from here, I believe it can go a couple of ways. The first way is the series just simply ends fully with no more continuation in any shape or form, and the second way is the book gets a brand new issue 1, which we all know Marvel loves doing, with an entirely new creative team. Now, out of those two options, I'm not really sure which one I want, because yes, it would be so nice to see this book continue. I mean, it's the main Spidey comic out right now, hands down, but if they reshuffle the creative team, then we're seriously risking this comic's legacy to be tarnished if they just can't do as good as a job as Hickman and Kiketo did. It'll be like how I personally view the second volume of the original Ultimate Spider-Man. I love all of Bendis' and Bagley's time on the book, but the second Bagley leaves, it just isn't the same to me, and by that second volume, that series felt completely unrecognizable. In fact, I never include that portion, a part of my reread list for Ultimate Spider-Man, because I just really don't like it. So yeah, I'm worried the same could happen here if Marvel reboots and continues the title. What Hickman and Kiketo did in this series is something truly special, especially considering the time it was released. You know, the current state of Spider-Man comics are just so bad and bleak. This was our only sense of hope. I just wouldn't want anything to take away from that. But I definitely would have loved to have seen this duo get a chance to make Ultimate Spider-Man without that stupid monthly rule. I would have just loved to have seen this story just fully realized without any interruptions or without having to jump skip a month every single release. I saw a theory online about how the big climax of Ultimate Endgame results in the beginning of the original Ultimate Universe and creating some sort of infinite time loop, and I honestly kind of love that to a degree, as just a sort of full circle moment. But I think what stings the most about this ending is just how much this book meant to people, because it was the first time in years where reading Spider-Man didn't feel like some chore you did out of loyalty. It didn't feel like you were forcing yourself to keep up with the character you used to love. This run made it fun again. It made it feel like there was still hope for this character and his comic books. It was like there was still creators at Marvel who actually got it and didn't want to actively tear him down. Hickman understood who Peter Parker is. He knew what Mary Jane means to his world. He knew what fans have been begging for since One More Day tore the heart out of the series. We've sat through years of Peter being turned into a joke, a meaningless drama, regression, mindless resets, and milestone issues that say absolutely nothing. We've watched Marvel ignore every plea, letter, response like it's just simply background noise, but then this comic released, and it suddenly felt like someone in that building was actually listening. It didn't treat us like we were stupid, it didn't try to stir up outrage for sales, it just told a good story. A real story. One where Peter has grown up, where the side characters actually felt like real characters, and where the stakes feel personal and real. This was the version of Spider-Man that felt like it was speaking directly to the fans who've stuck by this character through everything. And it wasn't just me. People were genuinely excited to talk about Spider-Man again. People who haven't touched a modern Spidey comic in years suddenly came back because this was a book worth the support, and that's why this ending hits so hard. Not because it's some tragic twist, but because we finally had a win, and it didn't even last 2 years. In a way, it doesn't feel fair. It never is with Spider-Man lately. It was the best shot Marvel had in decades to restore faith in this character, and for a while, it worked. Ultimate Spider-Man made us feel like fans again. But even with it ending, this run leaves behind something that's honestly kind of huge, because it showed that Spider-Man can still work, and not in some convoluted, over-explained multiversal gimmick way, but just by simply trying to tell a good story, and by treating the characters with actual respect. You don't need some shocking twist every issue. You don't need to constantly reset the status quo just to squeeze out another jumping on point. You just need to write Peter Parker like an actual person. That's it. That's literally all we've been asking for. This run proved that letting him age isn't some curse and doesn't kill the appeal or ruin the character. If anything, it made him more compelling. Seeing Peter as a father and a husband gave him more emotional weight than we've had in years. He wasn't stuck in this weird man-child limbo anymore. He wasn't chasing Ren in circles, going on awkward dates while pretending he's still in his early 20s. He was grown up, and it worked. It felt natural. It didn't feel forced or like some weird alternate reality where they had to explain away every single choice. It just felt like the next right step. Like the logical continuation of a character that's existed for 60 plus years. And honestly, it made you wonder how the hell Marvel hasn't figured this out sooner. Because this run connected with fans immediately, from the very first issue. No waiting for a big twist, no it gets better around issue 12, even though that is my personal favorite issue. It just hit the ground running and gave people something they've been waiting for decades to read again. It also made one thing extremely clear. Fans aren't asking for the moon. We're not asking for perfect comics or flawless writing every single month. We just simply want effort. We want stories that feel like they were made by people who actually care, who actually like these characters. This book had that. Even when it slowed down or had the occasional duller issue, you could tell there was thought behind it, and even if it didn't gel with me every single time, I could still appreciate what Hickman was trying to do. You could feel that he was building towards something. It felt crafted, not poorly manufactured like ASM does so many times. So yeah, even if this run is ending at issue 24, the legacy it leaves behind is solid. It showed that Spider-Man can still matter, that he doesn't need to be rebooted into oblivion just to be relevant again, that fans do care about character growth, and not everything needs to be stuck in 2007 forever. And I hope Marvel takes that seriously, even though I doubt they will. I just really hope they actually learn from this. Realistically though, they'll most likely just restart the title with some new issue 1 and pretend like it's the same thing, but even if they do, they can't erase what this run gave us. For a lot of us, this was the first time in a long time that reading Spider-Man didn't feel like a waste of money. It actually felt good again, and that's something worth remembering. Speaking of something worth remembering though, my god, Marco Hicketo's work on this title has easily solidified him as one of my favorite Spidey artists ever. I wish and I hope he continues working on the character because he's just that good. Overall, this was the Spider-Man comic I didn't think would ever get again. For years, it felt like Marvel just didn't care, like they were more interested in chasing short-term sales than actually telling a story with any kind of heart or long-term vision. The main title became a revolving door of bad ideas, fake-out cliffhangers, broken characters, and just the constant refusal to let anything move forward. So when Ultimate Spider-Man launched, I went in excited, but cautiously. I expected it to be good, but I didn't expect it to feel incredibly special. And I'm so glad that it did. Right from the start, it felt like we were getting something different. Not flashy different and not gimmick different, just better. More grounded, more thoughtful. It wasn't trying to shock anyone or throwing in some poorly created twist just to get people talking. It was just telling a good Spider-Man story, the way that we've been wanting for years. And the craziest part is, it didn't reinvent the character. It didn't do anything crazy, and all it really did was just let Peter grow up. It let him be an adult. It gave him a life that wasn't constantly being torn apart just to keep the story relatable. And in doing that, it reminded everyone why we loved the character in the first place. This comic gave us Peter Parker as he should be. Older, wiser, but still flawed, and finally in a place where he was allowed to be a full person again. Not some eternal man-child stuck in the loop, not some nostalgia puppet pleasing an outdated continuity. He was an actual adult with stakes, responsibility, and a family. But yeah, it's ending. And yeah, that sucks. Will Marvel continue the series? And if so, will it be good or worse? Who knows? At this point, I'm honestly just glad it happened. Because for the first time in way too long, we got a Spider-Man comic that actually felt like it was worth it. It felt like a real creative vision, and it never betrayed that. Even when it slowed down, I had the occasional weaker issue, it never lost sight of what it was. And if this really is the end, then I think I'm okay with that. It ended with purpose. It told the story it wanted to tell, and it leaves behind a version of Peter Parker that I'll honestly hold onto more than most of the modern mainline stuff. So whatever Marvel does next, whether they reboot it, relaunch it, or pretend that this never happened, they can't undo what this run gave us. They can't take away the fact that for a while, we had something special. Something that reminded us of what this character could be if they just let him live. And that alone makes this one of the best Spider-Man comics we've had in years. Maybe even decades. Spider-Man.